Well, we know that Yale and Harvard almost 100% founded the OSS and CIA, and Skull and Bones was an integral part of that. It was already a private opium-dealing intelligence agency that just became our CIA.
Yes, absolutely, and Yale in particular. And these universities have been involved in the actions of intelligence, recruiting students, because they have the opportunity to go in a benign way, as if they're about the business of education, and they can select leaders, children, or other people from other nations, and make them important and integral. And then the next thing you know, you got a nation in upheaval, such as what we have going on in Iran now. I would say, if we were to check the number of students that have graduated from Harvard or Yale or from Columbia that are now back in Iran, you would see where the movement is coming from.
Well, no, that's actually been confirmed, that these groups are based out of the U.S. and England, and our people trained here in the West to go do that. That's what these major nations do. But, Reverend, I mean, when is the trial, and are you saying you have other evidence?
Yes, I am. Yes, I do. The trial is scheduled for the 14th of May, Alex. We have two programs going. We've got the trial going, and I need to let everyone know that this trial is not some sort of a mock or moot or kangaroo trial without any power. Constitutionally, we have the right under the 10th Amendment, if we feel that the federal government or the state government have not brought us, given us access to due process, then the rights fall to the people to proceed. And we're proceeding under that right, that we have not been given due process, and we can demonstrate that there have been cases presented to the U.S. Supreme Court that have been summarily dismissed based on a flimsy statement of whether or not someone has standing. So we're moving forward under the 10th Amendment. We believe we've got an excellent case, we've got proof, we've got documented evidence, and we believe we can convict Obama.
All right, well, let's talk about the specifics of the upcoming trial. Will it be televised on the Internet? How do we find out more with Reverend James David Manning? We're also going to open the phones up specifically for the Reverend, 1-800-25-9931. I want to get into other issues with Reverend Manning, the Tea Parties, what Barry Soetoro is up to, but you got cut off by the break. Will we be able to watch the trial? How's it going to be, prepared? I mean, how are you going to...
We're not going to do any live streaming of the trial for one reason and one reason only. In order to make the trial an effective event, we need people to come to New York to put boots on the ground in and around Columbia University, because the second thing that I have not been able to talk about is that we're planning a march around Columbia University for a period of 7 days, demonstrating that they were complicit in everything that Obama has done, and they conferred a degree upon him in violation of state laws and federal laws. But if we were to televise it, then probably people would not come. In order to make it effective, we've come to the understanding that people need to be here in large numbers to speak loudly, to witness this issue, and at that point we can force the press to begin to deal with it in a way that's appreciable.
Now, what form of citizens' grand jury or citizens' trial is this? I mean, who will be the judge?
The grand jury hearing. The grand jury took place some time ago. The indictments have been handed down, both to Obama and, of course, at Columbia University. And now what we're proceeding with is a trial. This is not a grand jury hearing where only an indictment or a sense of guilt would be outlined. This is an actual trial where witnesses. I've subpoenaed to Condoleezza Rice, Zygmunt Brzezinski, Michael Sovereign, George Stephanopoulos, Wayne Allen Root. I've subpoenaed Louis Farrakhan, James Cone, Cornel West. I've subpoenaed a large number of people. This is a trial. This is not a grand jury. We're expecting to effect a verdict, and you never know. We're asking people from the community here in Harlem and every place else around America to participate in the trial. We expect a guilty verdict, but this is not a grand jury hearing. This is an actual trial.
Okay. I'm sorry I'm ignorant of that. That's why we've got you here, so I can find out exactly what's going on. So, how big's the jury going to be?
Well, I think the petite jury is 12 members. In a criminal case, you would need at least that many members to render a verdict. And that's exactly how we're going to proceed.
Are you going to randomly select them from those that arrive? Or?
Well, what we're going to do is that we're going to go through a jury selection process. We've got, at present, I think about 60 people who have volunteered from across America to serve as jurors. And once they're here, we're going to, on the first day of the trial, the process will be to select jurors. And the defense will have an opportunity to select jurors, and we'll select jurors as well. We'll come to
and what is the trial trying to find? What are the charges?
The charges are that Obama was not a U.S. citizen, and therefore his advent at Columbia University was under the name, or at least under a foreign, if you will, national status, yet they conferred a degree upon him while he was not at the school. And that within itself is a violation of state law. He did not study there. We can demonstrate 9 ways to Saturday, documented evidence, incontrovertible evidence. He just wasn't there for 2 solid years. What that then does is that it puts him, and it demonstrates that he was not a U.S. citizen, one of the reasons why Columbia proceeded with him and the CIA proceeded with him as they did. But once we demonstrate that he was not he did not receive that degree under normal circumstances, then a crime took place, and everything that he has done since then, having acknowledged that degree, and Columbia University, they have been in conspiracy, even to the point of him being president. Because if they knew at the time that he was at Columbia that he was not a U.S. citizen, and yet they've allowed him to proceed to the presidency without, they have a duty to inform the American people. And you may have noticed that Columbia was extremely silent during the time of Obama's primary and general election campaign. They've been extremely silent about him throughout the process. They have not spoken about him. And no president, Michael Sofrin, who is the president, who presently still teaches at Columbia, has not come forward and said the man graduated. Pardon me. The man is a full graduate, that he met all the requirements. Lee Bollinger, who's there, no one has come forward because they cannot come forward, and we can demonstrate it.
Shifting gears, we're about to go to break. We see the media. I had Nightline here yesterday, and they asked me, they said, your criticism of the government, aren't you concerned it's going to generate violence? And we've seen the Geico spokesman's now lost his job for it, calling up the Tea Party, saying it's going to be your fault when somebody gets killed. And we see Bill Clinton saying, there's going to be another Oklahoma City and it's going to be your fault. I really see them setting the stage for stage terror attacks here in the United States to be blamed on the American people. And I want to talk to you about the race card and how the media is starting to play it, and get your take on where all of this is going. Reverend James David Manning is our guest, and whatever you think of this trial, it's certainly going to draw attention to the fact that Barack Obama is an Indonesian citizen. A few calls for Reverend Manning. If you've got questions for him, 1-800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. We're going to go to Jeff and others that are holding for him here in just a moment. But before we go back to Reverend Manning of Atla.org, who's been an effective critic of Barry Soetoro, a.k.a. Barack Obama, who's really the front man for the globalist takeover of the Republic here in their final phase.